Trusted AI Adoption from Hype to Impact by KJR.
G'day, it's Drew here. So I'm a general manager with KJR. In today's episodes, we're speaking to three of our colleagues that we've worked with through 2025, just looking retrospectively back at 2025 through the lens of AI and trusted and responsible AI to see what they saw, what surprised them, and also have a look forward into 2026 and see what the predictions are. I really enjoyed the chat with all three of the crew. So Brooke from Delos Delta, Tony from the ACCS, and Ian from the ABPA. Three different perspectives and quite interesting, and suffice to say I really enjoyed each of the conversations, so hopefully you'll enjoy them too, and catch you on the next one.
I just want to personally say thanks for joining us on our VDML podcast, Tony, and I think I'm looking forward to the conversation that we'll have about the impact of AI, particularly in the space that you work in age assurance and that space. So I think probably with the context of this chat, we're looking back at 2025 to see was there anything or what happened in 2025 according to you and your eyes. So I guess to start the conversation, we might kick off with well, firstly, an intro of who you are, how you fit into the world, but also, and then what surprised you with AI in 2025?
Yeah, so thanks a lot for inviting me along, Drew. It's great to be on your podcast with you. I'm Tony Allen. My day job is I'm chief executive of the Age Check certification scheme. So we test that ID and Age Check systems work. And that includes a lot of AI-enabled systems. I was also the project director and worked with you and the team on the Australia Age Assurance Technology Trial. And I've quite heavily involved in international standards development as well. And I think in terms of my thoughts about AI over the last year is AI is one of those things that the concept of AI is nothing new. It's been around since the 1950s. The idea of this ability to do this. What's changed in the last year or so is the computing capacity of the equipment that we use, the laptops, the phones, to be able to actually process that level of data and that level of information. And what that has meant is that AI has become ubiquitous rather than something reserved to the scientific, technological, sort of, even to a certain extent, the business and that community. It's something which ordinary consumers are using in their day-to-day lives. Maybe not brilliantly, maybe not well, maybe not in a particularly informed way, but they are using it in their day-to-day lives, which is, I think, a great thing. I think it's a very human improvement in productivity for even for using it for some of the basic stuff that you might do. But I also think it's something which we have stumbled into ill-informed and ill-prepared.
Yeah, nice. It's definitely. I think that just because it's something is flagged as AI enabled and ready according to whomever has made that decision or made that sort of statement doesn't necessarily mean that we're ready for it or it's ready for us. So I think that's really
I think it's also not necessarily AI enabled as well. So the other thing that we see lots of is examples of things that are fundamentally what they are is just sensor-led technology. But they'll be described in product descriptions as being AI-enabled light bulbs. They're not AI-enabled light bulbs. They're sensor-led technology. They can detect when you're in the room and when you're not in the room. That doesn't make them AI. That makes them a light bulb with a passive infrared sensor attached to it. So we are seeing a lot of that as well. A lot of marketing people going, well, AI is the big buzz thing, so whatever our product is, it's got to be AI enabled, when in reality it's really not.
No, definitely. And I think given the sort of the position that you occupy, you'd see a lot of companies presenting solutions and saying that they're potentially, maybe AI enabled, maybe they have some AI and stuff like that. But how do you sort of filter through the sort of I don't know, the wheat from the chaff, or whichever analogy you want to look at? It's like, oh yeah, of course it's AI enabled, but really, does that equate to any level of maturity, or does that just a way that someone is trying to tap into the market?
Yeah, so I think when we come to testing AI-enabled stuff, I mean, the idea of it is that AI is in some ways smarter than humans. There is some evidence to suggest that there are bits of it that are smarter than humans, and certainly its ability to recall is smarter than humans, and its ability to search and to find is smarter than humans, but its ability to reason and analyze still isn't. It may well be in the near future, but it still isn't. And when I go back to the 1950s and the Turing test, which was the overall measure of AI, which was fundamentally, can you tell the difference between an AI response and a human response? I still think you can. I still think I still don't think it passes that Turing test in the sense of they become, AI has become such that it can fool somebody into thinking it's human. Even in the really advanced tech laboratories with these robots and people who are focused on this and spending months and months and months programming these devices to be able to be humanoid, they're not there yet. They're still not quite there yet. I don't know if you were ever a Star Trek fan with Data on Star Trek. Brent Spiner played that character brilliantly. We're not there yet. Not even at that level from that ability to, still be. We can still see it. So when you're testing and you're analyzing these things, you can still see it. You can still see where AI is faltering. You can still see where it misses things, where it is, in some ways it's too perfect as well. And in some ways it's missing stuff. So presenting it with things that it doesn't expect can reveal the AI. And I'll give you a really great example. So we use passports, image-generated passports for testing whether or not age assurance systems can analyze the data on the passport. We're not testing whether they're seeing whether they're a real passport. That we do that as well, but this is about the analysis of data. And when you train passports, when you train AI with passports, you train in the AI. This is what to expect. This is what you're going to get. You're going to given this. It's going to be a picture of a person and some data, and the data's in these places, and then there's a bit at the bottom. And you train the AI, and you show it hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of these things, and it learns about that. So we show it a picture of a passport with a dog on it. And the AI goes, okay, I've never seen that before, but I'm not going to reject it because I've never seen it before, because I've never been shown something before that's got that on. So I assume that I've misread that, and actually it's a human. Because it's never been trained to look for whether or not the person in the photo is a human face, or if it's a dog. That reveals the AI training depth and analysis. It also reveals the way in which coders have trained the not trained the AI, have programmed their system to interpret the results of the AI. So where the AI comes back with, this is a passport, it's got all the features of a passport. That picture there isn't, I don't recognize that picture, but the coders have said, don't worry about that. If it's only one thing that's wrong, we'll accept it. So they've made a trade-off decision. And so the testing lab, they do things like that. They will throw things at the AI which it really isn't expecting and see how it responds to it.
Yeah, so if I think if that all the advances in computer vision and our ability to query images and stuff like that, if you're not asking for essentially the right information to come back, it'll just sail through, won't it? So,
exactly. So I mean, AI is all about the prompt. So the skill is in the prompt and the analysis of the result, not the tool in the middle, which is taking that prompt and doing the recall, doing the against the training database, doing the ability to sort of present back to you some analysis of that and some rationale. But it's in the prompt, making the prompt right, and then the analysis and the processing of what comes back. That's where the skill lies, and that is still largely a human skill. I think the other thing about AI as well is there's a series of risks associated with it, in terms of control and the ability to switch it off and the ability to be publicly aware of its use and its deployment, but also it's particularly when you're using LLMs and chat and things like that, it is kind of self-reassuring. It's reassuring itself constantly, and it's reassuring the user constantly that the user is on the right track. Yeah, and that can there's a name for it. I can't remember the psychology name for this. I think it's like something like Dunning-Kruger effect or something like that. Is that that's not the right. You have to edit a subtitle on when you look at what it is. It's something along those lines, but it's that self-affirmation process that draw people into this is the right thing to do. This is the right thing to do. You're down the right track here. Unless you've got the ability to break that cycle and say, hang on a second, I think we've headed off on a bit of a wild goose chase here, you can find yourself in a lot of hot water. And this is something that lawyers have said about people using AI to, bring court cases and stuff like that, that they only go so far. But it's also, of course, it's that whole self assurance thing has been shown to be what's behind a lot of the AI-enabled suicide and AI-enabled abuse factors. That they the people thinking about depression or they're in trouble in their head or whatever, they're using AI as a companion bot, and that is constantly reaffirming back to the person that they've got that they're right and they should be right, and then it kind of builds up to the point where there have been lots of evidence cases of people taking their own lives as a result of using these AI companion bots. So there's as with all technology, there's lots of upside, but quite a lot of unregulated downside too. Yeah, that's right. And if it's just free and easy access that is enabled without sort of guardrails or moderation or even some level of human in the loop supervision of what's coming back, then it's they're very, as you said, they're very good at recalling and searching for information. So it's definitely could be, or can be, and has been a recipe for disaster if not looked at properly. So and then sort of following on from that, but maybe not quite as on the downside, what's the best sort of implementation of an AI enabled system that you've seen? And it can be anything from there's no bounds on the question. Is there one that sort of sticks out? The one that I've seen in the last year, which I was really impressed by, was an AI enabled fridge.
Oh, yeah. Nice.
And what this was doing is obviously it's got cameras around the door, so it basically knows what you're putting into the fridge and what you're taking out of the fridge. It's got a fairly clear idea of what's in there, how long it's been in there. It was identifying the products and stuff like that. And so you could literally go on an app and you could say, what could I make for me tea from the fridge, and it knows what's in there. It'll also do you a shopping list of the things that you use most regularly and the things it knows you run out of. It knows how much milk you've got, those sorts of things. But what was really impressive about it when I saw it was its ability to pick out allergens and food allergens.
Oh, all right. Okay.
So if you tell the AI that I might have let's say you've got an allergy to eggs or something like that.
Yeah.
As you're putting stuff in the fridge, you might not have clocked that you've bought something with this particular allergen in, and the AI will warn you that there's potentially an allergen in this product. So you start applying it to people who have severe anaphylaxis reactions to things. It can be a really, really useful tool. I'm starting to see, because now I'm pretty much deaf in one ear and I'm losing the hearing in another ear, so I'm having to readjust my understanding of the world around me from wearing assistive hearing and stuff like that. I've been toying with the glasses that would do that, and I've seen that from both deaf and blind, that AI-enabled glasses, the wearable devices, will shortly be able to provide live feeds into your ears of what you're seeing. So where you're walking. So it'll be audio describing to you. You're just coming up to the edge of a road, and there's a traffic crossing about 2 yards to the right, and there is a button on your right hand side to press to cross. It'll be able to audio describe where you are. Now, if you're blind, that is game changing for your ability to get out and explore the world around you, and freedom and an ability to work and an ability to be engaged in society. So there's a whole host of really brilliant pieces of work going on. I think I've definitely seen some really great examples in the assistive technology sector for people who are living with not necessarily severe disability, but living with daily things that are a challenge for them.
Yeah, nice. Well, actually, as it happens, over the Christmas break, got a pair of the Meta AI glasses. So, I mean, they're normally, but my prescription is quite expensive generally. So I saw them on special, so I thought I'll give them a crack just for why not? And I've got them in the sunglasses version, not the everyday version. But yeah, exactly the point that you make there. As part of the sort of the induction, I suppose, or the training, you put them on and you ask Meta to describe the room around you. And I was in our lounge room, and it said there was a TV, a fireplace, white couches, and the level of detail that it was able to sort of relay. And that was through it took a photo using the camera on the arms, and then used the speakers that are in the arms to relay that info. So I think that's I can definitely attest that I think that use of AI or AI enabled devices will be super. And actually, a mate of mine has one of the fridges that you described. I put some beer in it, and it didn't tell me that was bad or anything like that, but it did sort of come up with a photo and say, now there was 4 beers in there. And so I think, again, I can see, those are some great use cases of how to leverage that sort of increasing compute power and then the ability to inference at the edge to be able to provide updates and useful information to everyday folks. So
I think in the Australian concept, in the Australian context, any AI-enabled tool that tells you it's time to go to the bottle shop is got to be welcome.
Sounds exactly right. So it's definitely, and I think it probably should have for the safe and responsible use. After whatever the number is that you're supposed to only have per day, it should say, hey, you're over your daily safe limit of consumption. You probably should not have any more. So
so with that, you then get into this field of consumer acceptability, don't you? Because what you described there is does it become intrusive? So if you've set it so you're saying, I'm on a diet and I want to make sure I don't do any more than 2,000 calories a day, and the AI is saying, look, you're getting close to your 2000. You might want to try this instead of that if it's less. That could be really helpful, and I can understand why people are doing that. But if it starts to prompt on the basis of AI normalization, because AI is all about normalization. So AI normalization is once you start drinking more than say 2 cans of beer a day, the AI normalization says, well, you're now over the normalization pool. So we're going to prompt you that is the case. You then start getting into consumer acceptability as to whether they are going to start to accept those kind of unsolicited intrusion into their day-to-day decisions. And that's where I think the ability to turn it off, the ability to turn AI off, becomes critical to consumer acceptance.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's that sort of keeping the human in the loop and not having ultimate control over how much or if any extra information is provided, I think is good, because in the fridge example as well too, it might be that there's multiple people in the house. Like, is it sophisticated enough? And I don't know the answer to that, but is it sophisticated enough to be able to pick my hands versus my wife's hands, or my daughters who are of age that they're allowed to be consuming alcohol in that sense. So it's kind of, well, then do you need a profile for the fridge? And it's just a. Well,
you can imagine you can imagine a 10-year-old daughter going to the fridge and putting her hand in, and the AI going, "You're not old enough to drink that."
Yes, exactly right.
And you can program it so it's in. You can program the AI so it comes back in her dad's voice. So it's going to be thinking, everyone's always watching. That's the challenge. And I've also seen examples of where I can see where it's going, but it's not there yet. And you talk about the Meta glasses. I was with an event where we were testing the Meta glasses and looking at it, and there's a bit on it whereby you can do live translation, so you can have a conversation with the person speaking an entirely different language, and you're talking to each other in your own languages, and you're hearing in your ears their voice translated into your language live as they speak. Not quite there.
That's insane.
Not quite there. So the latency and the bandwidth and limitations of the devices within the space they've got in the glasses is not quite there. And I think the next step for AI is probably most definitely quantum enabled technology, an AI operating on quantum enabled technology.
So I think that the quantum space is definitely the next big frontier, isn't it? With and as the amount of compute that we've got access to, and essentially the efficiency in which quantum can then operate, or will be able to operate, it'll become more pervasive, and not just the pursuit of either very, very large companies or universities, essentially, isn't it? So that's awesome. The next point, and I guess we sort of touched on it briefly, but it's just, how have you seen the AI landscape change across 2025? And that could be from the implementations side, but also, or additionally, from a regulatory compliance type side. Have you seen sort of that change, either positive or negative?
Well, I think one of the most positive things for last year was the publication of ISO 42001, which is a AI management system standard. I think the first sort of global providers of that are getting through that certification now. And I think that starts to bring some structure to the use of AI, probably more in sort of factory process engineering settings, where you've got bounded control of AI than consumer settings. I don't see the management systems really kind of heading out into the consumer world anytime soon. But the AI-enabled workforce, the AI-enabled fulfillment, transport logistics, AI-enabled safety systems, they're all, I think, things that are going to be helped to be supported by that new international standard.
So, yeah. And how have you seen the rollout of, I mean, you've got a lot of experience with international standards and the drafting of them, and then also how have you seen the sort of the adoption curve go with the standard? And it doesn't have to be 42001, but I guess it's sort of like it takes a while to get a standard to a sort of published state, which means there's broad agreement globally. And then is there sort of what you've seen, is there a bit of a lag until there's adoption, or is sometimes there's sort of adoption quickly? How does that sort of play out?
Yeah, I think you're looking at realistically 4 to 5 years from the commencement of a project to an international standard being published. So it takes a long time, particularly through ISO, because it's a democratic process that goes through a consensus building process that goes across globally. So you've got to get that consensus from every country in the world, all of which have got an input to the way the standard is developed. So it takes a bit of time to do that. A lot of tech diplomacy, we call it. I think then you have a bit like any product, you have a series of evangelists who are straight in with we normally the people that were part of the development of the standard have been developing for their own benefit and gain, so they're straight in and they want to get it done. You then probably, that's quickly followed by their kind of close competitors who were maybe some early adopters. You then reach a critical mass, and that then starts to become de facto what's expected in the industry. The thing that really kicks it off, though, is when it starts to be specified in procurement. If you think about ISO 27001, which is a few years old now, I think probably getting on for about 20 odd years now, it was going through that process of development. It was pretty much unheard of in the world up until 10-15 years ago. It was there, but it was pretty much unheard of. Not many companies had it, not many small businesses had it. A few big companies had it, but not very many small businesses had it. And then you started to see in sort of 10-12 years or so ago, you started to see it appearing in requests for proposals, tenders, procurement exercises. What's your information security approach? That's driven by risk management on the buyer's side about what's happening with their information. But then your answers to those questions become, well, we've had it certified to ISO 27001, and that becomes part of the procurement process. So when standards reach that kind of stage and they start to become effectively prerequisites for bidding for things, that's when they really take off and they become really big global things. And that's not overnight. That is maybe 5 or 10 years or something like that to get to that. I think on the one that I've worked on, which is to bring it back to age assurance, it's brand new. It was published literally 5 weeks ago. We've got the first 2 or 3 companies, as I mentioned, those maybe evangelists for it, and early adopters coming through. And we're starting to see signs quite quickly that the buyers in the relying party community are going to say, well, we're going to start to say, if you got this, we expect you to have it. But at the moment, they're saying, well, nobody's got it, so we can't really specify that. You need that critical mass of people to have it, and then we'll start to specify it. And then what happens is the regulators start to say in the guidance, you need to develop effective or highly effective age assurance, and you should assess it against a recognized standard. And one of the standards that you can do that is ISO 27566, and that then sort of becomes self-fulfilling. And once
Yeah.
you reach that point, it becomes very difficult for somebody in the market, not impossible, but it becomes very difficult for somebody in the
Yeah.
marketplace to bring their product to market without having
Mm.
gone through an ISO compliant route. So they're quite
Yeah.
powerful, but
Yeah.
I still think that's probably maybe not 10 years away, but probably 5 years away before we get to that point
Yeah.
with age assurance.
Yeah, no, it's definitely because I think you know, talking about sort of guardrails and frameworks and that sort of stuff, which is exactly what what an ISO standard is. And if you're certified to that standard by a independent party, then there is an implicit guarantee or implicit sort of quality mark that you've got that you've done enough to be able to meet that bar. So it's yeah, no, definitely. It's I think definitely the 42,001 I'm sort of watching quite closely, given the space that we work in with the systems and looking at the I haven't seen any audits come out, but they are starting to see it mentioned in procurement activities. Because I think particularly Australian government, I'm not so sure about other governments, but are quite keen to sort of leverage that standard as a way of sort of lifting the quality of everything that's coming through without them mandating it just yet. So I think it's going to be to your point to watch this space as it grows in importance and popularity. Yeah, cool. And then
I really agree. I think it is coming. It's people are. I think AI has evolved out of the factory space and into the real world, so people are experiencing it more on a day-to-day basis, as it isn't something that's behind the scenes anymore. So therefore, it's going to get political attention, it's going to get regulatory attention, it's going to get consumer attention.
Yeah, definitely. So I think, I think generally, obviously, I'm biased, having been involved in a couple of standards with the Australian standards group. But I think the more standards, the better. I think is where we should be going. So, and then now just to sort of tap into your Nostradamus sort of capabilities and see, do you have any predictions of where either AI will get to, or the implementation or adoption of AI will get to across 2026, as we sort of we've looked backwards and now we can look forwards for a little bit?
I think so I think what we'll see this year is derivatives of LLMs really start to hit the app stores. So LLM enabled tools. So we started to see some evidence of that towards the end of last year. I think that they're really going to start hitting the app stores this year. So you're going to have, I mean, the diet example, I think is a good example. I think we're going to start to see AI-enabled diet apps really come out using LLM or deep learning technologies to be able to do that. A lot of the diet apps at the moment are still, photo and track, still kind of responsive and reactive. I think the ones that are going to drop this year will become more proactive. I think we will also see governments getting more involved in AI. They kind of tinkered with it. But I think they're going to start to deploy services with AI, and I think they'll start quite light. So one of the things that was announced here in the UK in the last couple of days is the ability for police forces to use AI to redact documents.
Okay. Yeah.
Because obviously at the moment when they're going to court or when they're doing this, there's a human being that's sitting there and going through every single document, and they're redacting the key things that need to be redacting, which is hugely resource intensive for big fraud cases and stuff like that. And so they're looking at AI to enable that to happen. Of course, that is a very small tentative step. And it'll only be the first one that goes to court when something that ought to have been redacted wasn't, because the AI missed it, and they'll go, "Oh, it's all terrible; it won't work." But therein, of course, humans are just as bad at that.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah,
and I always describe the one of our clients often says about age estimation about the AI. Humans can only guess the age of a person to within about 7 years, and they get it wrong, sort of 70% of the time. And he says AI just needs to be better than that. And I said, absolutely not. That'll never fly. If AI just better than that will never fly. It's a bit like saying to me that a self-driving Tesla has to be only slightly better than a drunk driver. It just isn't going to be acceptable. It's got to be at or near perfect for it to be something that humans will have confidence in. So I think we'll start to see more of those derivatives, ChatGPT, Copilot, Grok, derivatives of AI, where the app developers start to come in and say, how do we take this tool and turn it into something which individuals can use?
Nice. That's I reckon that's well, I guess we'll have to catch up again in early 2027 and see, but I reckon you're pretty close to the money on that one, that's for sure. So
I think we'll be a bit early for quantum next year. I think quantum is still, you said, the preserve of big tech and universities. I think probably still the case for the next year or so. I think the first quantum enabled computer device for home use is probably still, I don't know what the cost is, but you're still in the thousands and thousands of pounds or dollars. They're not at a consumer price point yet, and a quantum enabled smartphone still a few years off yet, I think.
Still a few years off, I think I mean, definitely inclined to agree with you on that one, that's for sure. So that's cool. Very cool. Well, thanks very much for your time, Tony. It's been great to chat and to get your thoughts and insights on that. We covered a wide variety of things. So it's definitely a great chat, and really appreciate you taking the time to talk with us.
Well, thanks, Stuart. It's good to see you again.
That's it for today's episode. I hope you found the discussion interesting and insightful. And if there's anything in there that you want to explore a bit more, please drop us a line and we can dive in a little bit further. We're really trying to help organizations sort of cut through the hype and just see actually what are people using AI for. And as the guests in the episodes that we've gone through today said, AI is now pervasive, so it's kind of everywhere. So it's going to be an interesting 2026, and who knows? I'm really looking forward to fast forwarding to 2027 and having a look back to see whether we're how close were our predictions, were we on the mark, and how things have moved. So until next time, thanks very much for listening in, and I'll catch you then.